to the first Kingdom Counsel podcast. So we're here to talk about everyday topics and issues that we all face from a kingdom perspective. In a world that has become so political, it is often hard to hear fresh perspectives. That's why we're here. If you ever felt like you never seemed to quite mesh with the viewpoints of the majority, then you're in good company. We want to be that much needed breath of fresh air in a world that seems to have gone mad. So today we're going to talk about the pandemic and the vaccine rollout and how that's affecting us. So I'll start out with something. Yes. So I actually work in clinical research and, I work in a healthcare setting, and a lot of people are, of course, pro-vaccination. And there are people that don't want to take the vaccine, but it seems to be like, why do you not want to get on board with this? But one of the issues is, working in clinical research, you have to give consent to take anything that's experimental. And this is under emergency use authorization, meaning it does not have full regulatory approvals, meaning it is not non-experimental. And for people to put out an agenda to take the vaccine, it kind of feels like coercion at times, which is on a regular clinical trial would be deemed illegal and unethical. So just want to hear you guys' viewpoints about this.
Great opening.
No, really. Honestly, I feel like all of this is a sham, because you say it's not mandatory, or that it won't be mandatory, but every institution is pushing the same message and the same agenda. That's and right. It's people that are in college now and they're like, what do? I can't go back to campus unless I get the vaccine. Mm-hmm. And it's other people that are like, oh, well, you've had to have vaccines to go to school before. This one's not any different, da-da-da. So it's like that conversation coming around too. But if it wasn't mandatory, why is it a requirement then? Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, they're pushing that whole digital vaccine passport now. I know a couple other countries have gotten on board with it, and they're actually doing it to where you can't even go to work without it. You can't go to the grocery store without it, stuff like that.
Very true. Very true. What other states, do we know that this is happening? Because I know, far as I can only mention Texas and I believe Florida, of course. And I don't know any other states that right now at the moment that are at least open or, half open. I think
California just started going back to school. I don't know many of the little states though. I just know the big ones for sure, like Texas, Cali, Florida for sure.
Yeah, as far as the updates on, as far as vaccines goes, speaking personally and kind of piggybacking off of what I think not Zatea, but Deja, piggybacking off of what you mentioned, especially firsthand relating for the schools and students. Yes, I believe it's definitely speculated. I know that they want us all tested before moving back into dorms on campus. We haven't gotten any updates as far as must be vaccinated or anything else, but we are opening in the fall. I'm aware of that. Just to give personal perspective, Deja, are you experiencing any of this personally?
Well, I have friends that live in Georgia, and Georgia State, Clark Atlanta, Spelman, Morehouse, they're all requiring that you be vaccinated to return back to campus.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's really something.
That's crazy.
I know. And that's what it's showing, how rapidly everything is moving.
Do you think a petition, maybe I don't know if it's called it's a certain petition dot petition something. It's basically a site where they list hundreds and thousands of petitions. Do you know if there's a petition, if we can start a petition as far as paying vaccines on schools or do y'all think like there's anything we as, far as like the masses or like far as the citizens, taxpayers, that we can do,
I
The
think
thing
there's
is-
a petition going. I'm not sure when. I had to get back to you guys on it. Now that you mention it, it just popped up where there is something going against the whole, as far as the digital passport, the vaccine passport that you have to even travel. But I want to say it's changesomething.org. And there is one on there that they're urging a certain senator to go against that for a certain state, but I forget which one. So
Okay.
I'm pretty sure you can do it to your senators and stuff, and then I guess it'll just go up and go up. But
What was that website again?
I'm not
Change.org.
sure. I know change something else was in there, but I know the word change and the ending
I'm
was
researching
.org.
it now.
But I don't remember where I seen it. It had to be this week though, because if not, I would have never remembered it.
Okay, it looks like yes, resources are confirming it's change.org. Yes,
Change.org. There you go.
yes.
But to your
Okay,
point
something
about
good
the
to know.
taxpayers, it's a lot of taxpayers that are cool with it. So
That is true.
why
That is
would a
very true.
senator want to go through the hassle of the backlash of going against the masses when people are accepting of it?
Yeah, that's the problem. People are accepting of it. If
Are we
we
too
get
accepting of it?
together, if we can get together and create one voice, then that will make a petition very easy and very well known where everybody will know what it's about. But until we can get together and be one voice, but the problem is, just like Deja said, there's people that are accepting of it because they're falling into this fear. That's what I feel like it is.
Here's
And see, I
definitely.
see the opposite here in Texas. Like, it's like that whole that goes along with, don't take my guns thing. Like here in Texas, and at least in the part I'm at, people do not care about masks. They do not care about the whole COVID thing. They're like, I'm not going to wear anything. I'm not taking your vaccine. I'm not your guinea pig. Like, I see that a lot everywhere here.
Yeah, definitely. Like I'm in Florida right now, and I was actually at a gun store the other day.
Florida.
And it was owned by a bunch, like very old white guys. So I walked in. I had a mask on because I'm not really pro mask, but I try to respect other people's businesses. So I walked in with the mask, and you're looking at me like, "What's wrong with this guy? Why you got a mask on?" You know what I'm saying? So it was real funny. I ended
So
up
you're
taking it
the
off because.
outcast.
How would you say?
You're the outcast for wearing the mask.
Yeah, because I would just wear it because I didn't know how they felt about it.
That's funny.
Yeah, they were very pro-Trump. They had like a Trump statue. I should have known before I walked in. They had like a big Trump statue.
I wouldn't have even
right
gone
there.
in there.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
so yeah, and another thing,
That's funny.
pretty much job security is something that a lot of people are worried about. Like some people are actually looking into seeing if they can work from home
Very
instead of
big.
actually going back to their physical office. Some people they do insurance, like stuff like that, where they can actually do it from home. Some I've been looking into too. So that's another big thing I see happening.
Yeah, this brings up an interesting point. I was looking at a YouTube video, Boyce Watkins, and he was talking about like a lot of people were thinking about leaving the workforce because of the pandemic, and it was like really high percentages. It sounded like people were trying to either go into entrepreneurship or find a way to work from home. It's completely changing like our social construct.
Well said. Well said.
Definitely.
I was. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I also think like it's interesting that, just showing the sign of whatever we're moving in, like what we're moving into. I think it's interesting that all this gun reform and gun laws and taking away people's guns is happening at the same time as all this vaccine stuff. And if you don't have your passport, you can't do X, Y, Z. Oh, now you don't have your weapon either. Like, that's a little interesting too, that timing.
Very.
Yeah. I think it's all by design, as it always is with politics.
Here's another interesting timing point. So when you think about the opioid epidemic, the crisis that has happened, and you look at like some big name pharma companies like Pfizer, Johnson and Johnson, that, you know, were sued, and they had like multi-billion-dollar settlements they have to pay out to people because of unethical practices. And these are the same companies that are standing to make several $billions from pushing vaccines. And we just think that like over a span of a couple of years, they now have completely revamped their institutional structure so that now they're ethical, and we're supposed to just trust that they didn't cut any corners to take a vaccine and make in 11 months that normally takes 4 years to make. It's all questionable things.
Mhm.
Very much so.
Not only
I
I
that,
think
but
even if you believe that you could trust them with this vaccine, even if they did take the time, this vaccine isn't any different than any other vaccine they give you. You trust the vaccine before, why would you trust this one?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And why are we trusting anything Bill Gates is funding?
Right.
well, he's doing all the software work for that digital vaccine passport. So
He was funding
He
the whole
is.
vaccine research, the whole Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Their name is on that. Like, I see you,
absolutely.
Bill. Like, I see you. Like,
Very heavy. It's very, very heavy.
And even with the vaccine, like there was a study that was done with like about a little under 6,000 people that got it again. Like they were tested positive for COVID again. And it was people that got symptoms and people that didn't have symptoms. So they're saying it's a slim chance, it's not a big deal. But those are just the people that they tested. They didn't test everybody that took it. It's only the people that went out, you know. And so it's like, why get it if you're gonna get it anyway? Like, there's no point.
Right.
So have any of us on this Zoom call got the vaccine?
That'll be
Absolutely
a
not
negative.
me.
you know what?
That'll be a negative. It's a
No.
negative.
Okay, that's enough.
What I can
I'm in
mention-
Cali. I'm in Victorville, California, and right now, I'm the opposite of the other gentleman on here. I don't wear a mask anyway. They always tell me like, "Excuse me, sir, can you put on a mask?" Or they'll ask me, "Do you have a mask?" And I just tell them no and keep going. And I haven't got no symptoms of anything. I walk around like it's all good. Everybody stares at me like like I'm a walking disease. And I'm just like, hey, at the end of the day, I respect everybody to wear it, but I'm not going to. And I've had that conversation with multiple people who have you could tell in the beginning they were looking at me like there was an issue with me not wearing it. But once I spoke with them about it, at the end of the day, I was like, look, why are you worried about me? If you're protected, you got your mask on, you feel like you're protected, then why are you worried about me not wearing it? Because regardless of whether I have one or not, you do have one. So you feel you're protected, right? So then me walking around here without one shouldn't affect you. You know what I'm saying? And so I just feel like at the end of the day, again, respect to those who want to, that's their choice. But, I'm not going to live my life afraid, you know what I'm saying? Especially knowing what this world is capable of doing with that fear, and how they use that to their advantage. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to allow that, for myself.
Kendrick said it best, when he said, "I'm talking fear." And we can't live on fear. Like, definitely agree. I pick and choose, like picking back off of you, pick and choose when to wear it. But I do work for like a vaccine site and a testing site. But personally, I work for a company that does both, but I only do testing, and we always got to stay suited and booted, got to wear everything, and they haven't regulated us or pushed us. Said we haven't gotten anything saying, hey, our employees must take the vaccine or else you're going to lose your job. We haven't heard that, but it is temporary. Like, as of right now, it's still confirmed temporary. And even talking about like what Vanessa was mentioning about the digitized smart contract, basically. That's heavy because in healthcare, Charlotte, you may know that smart contracts are already being rolled out specifically through Ethereum. They may not be doing like transactions hand over fist with money as a monetary system, but the transactions are happening far as like, okay, here's your information. All right, here's the key. All right, here's access to the information. And it's like if we don't like stand up now, specifically California, I agree with RZA when he said California is going to be the testing grounds for how they proceed with COVID. I definitely agree with that. 100% California, New York,
Texas.
definitely the model. California, New York, definitely. Even Texas, Florida, definitely models on like opposed vaccines. Definitely. I think as far as the people, we still have a voice, and yeah, that's what I think. I think we still have a voice, but we gotta make a move now, like we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking too, it's like they keep on telling us social distance, stay away from everyone, make sure you're not around anyone. Well, while we're all busy on social media and promoting awareness, they're actually making moves, but we're sitting down in the house separated from people and not making any real, like, pushing forward together, because we need to be, I don't know, do you think protests really work now?
Yeah, I think
I
when it comes to protests, um, this is where I think the dichotomy lies with protests, and it's that people think the only protest that we can do is rah rah out in the streets. There's different forms of protest because different forms of protest are going to alert different types of people. So, for instance, a silent protest grouped up may get the attention of one group of people. A rah rah protest may get the attention of another. Talking one on one may be a better approach to another. We can't just stand on one form of protest. If we're going to protest, everybody got to use what they're strong at as their form of protest in order for it to make, cause any type of change, any type of effect.
The right type of attention.
I think if everybody, exactly, I think if everybody just tries to go with, well, this is what they've been doing, well, technically nothing has been going in one direction. So we need to use every form of protest possible in order to make that change possible. If without it, then the simple form of protest that's going on right now, the one form of protest that's going on right now is not going to do anything. That's my belief right there.
How do you prevent matters such as what happened with Black Lives Matters? Because
Different
Black
approach.
Don't get me started with Black Lives Matter.
Has-
They've been
Try it. Yeah, but
Wait,
you
we
gotta
talking
try.
about
You
the
have to try a
movement
different approach. That's what it.
or the organization.
Probably
I'm
both.
talking about the same
Both?
thing. Yeah,
The
both.
organization has been
Yeah.
deceiving and
But
bamboozling.
you gotta.
It's turned into a trend. It's
Yeah,
turned
but
into
there
a
has to be.
hashtag, something cool to put up on your socials, And it loses
There has to be
validity
communication.
after a minute.
You
It's
have to
too
have
many
righteous
jumping on the
people.
bandwagon.
You have to have righteous
Some
people
leaders.
actually
But there has to be.
behind that stuff. That's the
Well,
issue.
there has to be communication between the people that are protesting, and that's the problem. Everyone right now is all rah rah gung ho, like Vanessa was stating earlier, that it's cool right now. It's hip to throw out their BLM hashtag BLM, whoop, whoop, whoop. But at the end of the day, no one's communicating with anybody about the form of protest and what the actual end goal is. It's just Black Lives Matter, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, gas prices are too high, Black Lives Matter. Like for what? So nobody is actually communicating on not only what we're protesting about and how we're going to go over this protest, but what it is that we're looking for at the end result of the protest. Everybody is just out there rah-rah doing their own single form of protest whether it's for personal gain or whether it's actually for the cause, or for the people, whatnot. But at the end of the day, there's no communication being had between these people getting together. I think at the end of the day, that's what needs to happen. People need to get together. Somebody, be that lead. Say, okay, look, anybody because we use social media for everything. So if we're going to use social media to say, hey, look, anybody who's with Black Lives Matter, I'm gonna be at the corner of Palmdale and Amethyst today. Meet me there, and we'll do this. We'll discuss what we can do and how we can protest or whatever. I'll be at this park and do that. Nah, everybody's just like, yeah, I was out there today. Out there where? What were you doing? What changes were being made? Like, it's just, yeah, I was out there. I was doing it.
No
So
organization.
that's the problem. It's all organized. It's all unorganized. And there's nobody actually leading any type of movement. It's just a bunch of people out there that's just like Black Lives Matter for everything now. You know what I'm saying? Gas prices, you know what I'm saying? Taco Bell going up, you know what I'm saying? Just movie theaters still ain't open. And they're just trying to find every reason to try to connect it to Black Lives Matter. It's starting to become just watered down and just starting to become, just another.
And companies are
whatever.
using it to just keep their customer base, like to just, like to keep everything going so they won't lose money. Like they don't mean that. Like Target doing that, they don't mean that.
Mhm.
They just don't want to lose money.
That's why we got to keep it in the family.
Mhm.
Like that's why it's so important to
That's what I was gonna say. Is hit them
support our brothers
financially.
and sisters and their businesses. Like we generate what I think $2 trillion in the economy.
Speak on it.
Why are we still in these positions? If we have all this capital that we're funding these other people's stuff, why are we not funding our stuff and building our communities up?
And that's the way to protest is financially. But I mean, some of it can be done, but a lot of the other smaller corporations, it's going to be impractical because sometimes they've monopolized a certain product or something, and we have to go to them for something, or it's outsourced to the point to where we can't get it here.
And for those in position to reach their hand out, like you said, keep the money in the circle, keep it in the family, and we can't sell out anymore. The moment we start gaining traction is the moment they come in and say, oh, I want to own that. You can't own anything. I want to own that. I want to own that. This, that,
Buy,
that.
sell. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
that's
we can't
true.
sell
That's
out.
true. But I think, but our problem is though, is because that's a great point. The moment that we start to gain traction, they come in and find a way to swoop and take it from right up under us. But the problem is we give up too easy. If we,
Right,
the moment, like literally, the moment we get any type of resistance, we're like, oh man, the man, and then we stop. We don't ever try to find alternative routes to still get to the result that we're looking for. Our people have, and obviously this is years and years and years, of conditioning and things of that nature. So this could be a whole nother topic of its own. But at the end of the day, we've been conditioned to give up as soon as something of resistance occurs, and unless it's negative, because everything that we're trained mentally to continue to fight for is all negative. Gang territory, you know what I'm saying? Killing, ego, like just being the man, to show up in front. Everything is like egotistical and physical, you know what I'm saying? When it comes to that type of fight, but it's never towards something that's positive. It's always something negative that we're constantly fighting for. But that's also because those things to fight for are easy to fight for. We don't have to go through legality. You know what I'm saying? So all the things that we can continue to fight for without resistance, not only are they negative, but there's also no resistance. They want us to fight for those things. They want us to keep us in that position, in that predicament, thinking that way. Everything else, when it becomes legal, now it's a whole nother thing. It's like, man, the moment we meet resistance, now all of a sudden we stop. Our traction is no longer emotion. You know what I'm saying? And then at that point, it's just like, well, we had a great idea and there's no alternative route. And the people that are in the position to do something are usually only doing so much. And so we don't have that power behind us to continue moving forward.
Well said.
That's real.
Well said. Kind of tying it all together, like just adding on to what excuse me if I'm incorrect. Jamal?
Jamel.
Jamel, just piggybacking or adding on to what Jamel was mentioning. You're right. The legalities of it, it does seem like we have to go through more of a process living in quote unquote America KKK. You know, we definitely see a different world of as far as redlining, going over all the different forms of redlining, not just through housing, but through maybe even obtaining, you know, job licenses or certain certifications, or even applying for a job, or even when it comes to brick and mortars, you know, we definitely see it. And now moving forward, I think we got to find a way like how to make sure it's not hijacked, or how to, I guess, informing or instructing some type of, you know, organization, I guess, in a sense, far as, you know, how we all get things done, you know, or not just holding the keys back and actually maybe giving as well, adding to the resources, definitely adding on to what Darwin was saying as well, because resources are important. Maybe we just don't know how to access them.
Right, and just like to add to what his brother was saying, I feel like our biggest issue in Black community is a sense of individuality. Like a lot of us think of our people just like as individuals instead of a group, instead of a whole. You know what I'm saying? Like as soon as we lose that individuality, like mindset, I feel like somebody adopted sense, like, you know, slavery and stuff. We were broken down to think that just think for you and just think for you and yours, get yours. Don't worry about, you know, bringing it all together. Just get yours. And I feel like that's all we have to do is lose that mindset, the mentality of just getting mine. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't care about everybody else. Like it's a term I learned about a couple of days ago called the Black Bourgeoisie, where they would just make a certain amount of money and just say, okay, I got mine. Now whatever y'all niggas doing down there, they start talking like, you know, the same speaking points as a lot of like Republicans. They be like, okay, you guys didn't work hard. You guys aren't doing what you're supposed to be doing. That's why you're there. Like I'm up here because I worked hard. I don't know what y'all niggas doing, but I worked hard. You know what I'm saying? So like that's the biggest thing that we need to work on.
Wow, that is so true.
If I'm not mistaken, just to kind of piggyback off of that, the Black Bourgeois was created as a form of what's the word?
Educate. Take your time.
Okay. It was a oh my goodness, it's right there on the tip of my tongue.
Assist.
Okay, so it was a group formed by some of the most educated Black men in America at the time. And what it was supposed to do, what it was supposed to take all the laws and the rules of these other white groups, and they were going to use that to say, look, white people are not the only ones in power. They're not the only ones with knowledge. They're not the only ones who can use that power and that knowledge to be able to create change and progress forward in this world, right? So what ends up happening is when they put this group together, even though they took some of it, or they built it for the quote unquote Black people, they ran it the same way that the white people did. So what it ended up happening was they essentially ended up treating it the same way that the white folks were treating their group. And it was basically hindering the lesser fortunate, the lower end of the Black community. And it was separating the rich from the poor. And so the poor didn't have a voice, only the rich did. And the rich became what we see today as the influencers, the Black community influencers, the people like the Jay-Z's and the Diddy's and stuff like that. But what ended up happening is those people were only creating change for themselves and for that particular group of people who could fit in that group. Everybody else couldn't because they weren't in the bracket. They weren't in that same level. And so essentially now the Black community had two people against them, one of their own kind and one that wasn't. So now it just further pushed us back as a community because now we had our own doing the same thing that the white community was doing, only claiming that they were doing it for the Black plight. And it ended up being just another form of it in our own shade. So it was our own people that was holding us back. Once the Black Bourgeoisie was created, they essentially started to work through that group of people to be able to hinder our growth as a people. And that group of people started to be what was the face of Black America and how we are supposed to carry ourselves, how we're supposed to act, how we're supposed to dress, how we're supposed to, talk, the music we're supposed to listen to. Our whole culture started to be dictated by that group of people. So it was no longer white America trying to tell us what to do. It was white America pushing this Black group of people to say, hey, lead them. Yeah, we like that. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Go ahead and do that. And so they started to dictate how we were going to live our lives and how our culture was going to be from that point on. So, it's disheartening to know that it's our own people that are actually leading the detriment of our people. You know what I'm saying? And mainly because of their own selfish ways. They all have their own personal gain, if that matters. So you think about someone like Jay-Z, who during the protests of the NFL and how everyone was kneeling and things like that, Jay-Z swoops in and he tries to be, the Dark Knight and try to save everyone when ultimately nothing came from it except we got a concert out of it that promoted, Black pride, but all the money went towards what? Towards the NFL, towards the owners that ran the stadium, towards all of the white businesses. It took away from the actual movement because now people were saying, oh, well, if Jay-Z is cool with it, if Beyonce's cool with it, if Rihanna's cool with it, then we all good. Then that means there's no more change that's needed. That means there's no more discussion that needs to be had. Because now at this point, you're looking at Jay-Z as the voice of all people. Nobody anointed him that. He just put himself in a position where the Black people give him that type of authority. But there was no, rank and no vote that actually put him there and made him the actual voice of the people. But because he made that move, the NFL fell back like, all right, cool, we ain't got to worry about it too much anymore. We already got the Black vote per se because we got the one vote that matters and everybody's going to follow him. And so that's why I said when the people who have the power and the ability to make change, create change, when they do things like that go against us all for gain, it throws us back 100 feet because now all that traction that we created is thrown out the window because now white America no longer feels the need to do anything for us because they like, hey, the one person that we care to influence is cool. Now they're going to do the job for us to say, hey, everybody back up. We got this. We're going to create change for you guys. But there's no change that happened. What change has actually happened in the NFL? What change has actually happened since that movement was stopped in the NFL? Nothing. People just stopped kneeling and everything is still the same. Every once in a while, they throw a Black Lives Matter, tag out there or something. But for the most part, nothing has actually changed. It's not like they got half Black coaches in the league now. It's not like they got half Black owners in the league now. It's not like they got, any more rights for the Black community than they did before.
I think the only thing they did was very small. All they did was said you can't be suspended or fined if you kneel or do not salute the flag. That's what they did. that was the change.
What
That
has
goes
the
back to
flag
the
done
whole-
for
Very
anybody?
laughable.
Yeah,
What
it goes
is
back to the whole, they just
done?
didn't want to lose money, so they just did it to save face.
Yeah.
I think that's why it's so
And
important
to shut us
that
up.
we get to this point where what Delvardo was saying, where we do move in nation. Like, I mean, that's what we are. We're literally Yah's children. And I feel like we forget that. And that's why people go doing their own things and trying to do different things. And there's no organization. Like, that's why things didn't work out for them before. It's the same thing. Like, we're reading about it and we're doing the same thing. So if you want to be the change, like you want to see the change, you really have to be it. Like we're reading about it. This is where we are with it. We actually have to put our foot down and be that change, because that's the only way things are going to change.
And Deja, I think that's a great point. And since we
Love
are
it.
hitting our mark, I think you should close us out with your what you prepared for us.
Yes. So I really just want everyone to know that, you know, a lot of times we feel like we don't know where to go for reliable information as people rooted in the truth. And so we want to be that source. Kingdom Magazine and Kingdom Counsel podcast wants to be that source that people can go to and know they're going to get reliable, factual information rooted in the truth that's going to benefit them and their families. So thank you for joining us.
Yay, thank you.
Yes.
Yes.